most communication is nonverbal, right? So most of the time when someone's telling you something, they ain't gonna say it. They just gonna show it. The players have been showing us forever. They don't want to play. They don't care about playing. So guess what? We finally heard them. Okay, since you don't give a damn, guess what? I don't give a damn. And it took us a while because we were like, nah, y'all care. Y'all still sweating. Nah, y'all still shooting. Nah, y'all still dunking. And then you started to squint and look and be like, wait a minute. That ain't the same kind of defense.
That ain't the same.
That ain't the same kind of dunk. That ain't the same way you play basketball. So it happened in football. And I think it was more obvious in football because it's more physical. So you're like, yeah, I get why they don't want to play. But you're like, basketball? Y'all can't get no run in and just chill and still have a good time and not get hurt? And them players, the game management, the game, load management, and then all of a sudden, hey, how much do we get paid for these exhibition games and how much we get paid for our regular season contracts? Cats start doing some good math. So since they show us non-verbally, they don't care, we caught the hint, and now we don't care. I did not watch any festivity, not one. I went to Monster Jam with my kids, and we were in a stadium that was packed at the same time as the slam dunk contest. So that was another 80,000 people that didn't watch it because we all sit there watching monster trucks. So I think that's where we are with Charles. I think it's a wrap.
Man, Marcellus, man, I'm always, you know me, I'm always like pissed off about something going on with the NBA. But this particular one, man, no, it really bothered me, and I'll tell you why. These guys were told, I remember, looking at Jordan, all these guys say the All-Star game is the greatest pickup game in the world. We all remember the All-Star game. Dudes would kind of mail it in the first half, and then in that second half, in that fourth quarter, dudes, they actually started competing. Whereas this game, it seems like they don't care. And to go back to your point about the numbers, I came across a stat this afternoon. I don't know if you've heard it. Do you know that in the 2003 All-Star game, 10.8 million people tuned in. And in the All-Star game of 2023, 4.6 million. The NBA has lost half of its audience in the last 20 years. If you're Adam Silvers, because it seems like Adam Silvers doesn't think there's a problem. Every time I see him, he's smiling and the game is in a great place. Do you think the commissioner is out of touch with his fans?
I don't think he's out of touch. I think he's looking at different line items, more than just the viewership, and obviously that's huge. The viewership matters because that's how you get the television contracts. But he's still getting those TV contracts despite the decline in viewership, right? So you're like, what else is he looking at? And you have to look at how the game is growing globally, and you got to see that he's seeing it from a different lens, different perspective. To go back to it, see, I don't let the old timers get away with stuff. And the old timers get away with a lot, like your grandparents. They say stories to you. And when you're young, you're like, oh, wow, you did have to walk up the hill both ways to go to school with no shoes. Whoa, you were tougher than me. Then you realize, man, you ain't tougher than me. You just couldn't do what I could do, fool. So now you're like, I ain't gonna say fool, granddaddy, but damn it, you know what I mean. Like, man, look, these old timers, they used to go to the All-Star game. Well, if you want to go back to the 80s when they only had like 3 channels and stuff and it was tape delay or whatever, and they used to go there for 2 reasons. One, they wanted to really show the world who was the best. And 2, they needed to get their fame up. I mean, it was just that simple. Like, you weren't watching Indiana games, right? But you will watch the All-Star, you'll watch the playoffs and the finals. So you're like, okay, how good is Reggie Miller versus Michael Jordan? You'll watch that game and then you'll see him in All-Stars and you'll say, oh, Michael Jordan is the best of the best. Because look at him, even around the best at the All-Star, he's destroying them cats. And it meant something. You know why it doesn't mean anything now? One, we're saturated with all things NBA, whether it's social media, whether it's actual websites and rankings and your show. Everyone already tells us who's the best and who's not. And when they get to the All-Star game, they're not sitting there holding their breath to show how good they are against somebody else because you already seen them play. You know what they're doing? They're relaxing. They're like, man, look, you can go on and have that. I got my contract. People know how good I am. And when I'm balling, y'all already watching it. So I don't think the All-Star game is the measuring stick it used to be because it's too much media out there, and these cats are getting fat and full doing what their real job is, which is not the All-Stars. It's the regular season and playoffs.
Two questions for you. You brought up the point about Adam Silver saying he's maybe looking at different things versus what maybe a typical fan is looking at. I got to ask you, and maybe you have an insight to this because I don't. The NBA is just coming off of their last deal, which was like $25 billion. They're now looking to renegotiate the new one for $75 billion. But we're looking at the viewership numbers go down in terms like per game, like NBA fans tuning in per game versus like NFL games. So how are they justifying asking for 3 times the money, but if the views are going, am I looking at something wrong, or maybe I'm not looking at, I don't have the information.
No, you're smart. You're probably too smart for your own good because you're like, this doesn't add up. And everybody's sitting there like, what are you talking about? So this is the part that most people don't understand, that the Nielsen ratings, viewership ratings, is archaic. But they're still using it as an industry standard, but it's diminishing in terms of its relevance.